Beautiful, yes, it is.
Atul, you
Ma'am,
may
we'll
not
be.
know. Sorry, go ahead.
Please go ahead, Vivek.
Why you may not know, Vandana's husband is a very good photographer and a photography expert and teacher. His name is Navneet Saxena, good friends, both
Yes.
of them.
So we have to meet then. I'm a big student of photography and I would love to catch up with him. Definitely. In
Sure.
fact, we should request him to be part of our Guru series, Vivek. We'll
Yes,
separately talk about that.
you can see some pictures behind Vandana. I'm
Yes,
sure
yes,
it will
those are his
Right? Yeah, yeah,
pictures.
yeah, yeah. So, ma'am, we will be starting in 30 seconds. The format is going to be Vivek will speak for 30 to 35 minutes, and I'll come in a couple of times in between. Before we start, we'll request you to please introduce the subject to your teachers, and then we'll just mute ourselves. Vivek will speak, and then we'll definitely love a lot of Q&A from teachers. So we've not done this 30 times, and the more the questions, the more fun it gets. So that's going to be my request to all the teachers. So if we allow me, can we start now?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can
sure.
begin. We can
So
begin.
good morning, everyone. Good morning, teachers. Good morning, Vandana ma'am. Good morning, Vivek. It's my honor and privilege to welcome you to Ideas at Work, our webinar series from Shoolini University, Kasole Hills. This is our 30th episode, and we've now spoken to 29 different schools across the country. The whole idea behind this series of webinars is to connect each other, inspire each other, so that we can then inspire our students. I'm honored to have Vivek Atray with us, who's going to be hosting the session today. Vivek is a dear friend, an ex-IAS officer, as you know, TEDx speaker, motivational speaker, and for me, also a very dear friend and an advisor and professor at Shoolini University. As a quick background, I am the founder and pro-vice chancellor of Shoolini University. I'm a BTech from IIT Kanpur, an MBA from Bajaj, and then spent around 20 plus years in the industry. MNCs like McKinsey and Company, where I was a partner, 7 different countries, 25 different cities. And then finally, the teaching bug hit me. And 2013, I got to teaching full time. And I now, in my introduction, claim that I am a very proud teacher. So I think with that introduction, I'm going to request Vandana ma'am to please introduce the topic, and we'll then hand it over to Vivek for the beautiful and inspirational talk. Over to you, Vandana ma'am.
So, good morning, teachers. Good morning, Vivek. Good morning, Atul. And thank you very much for this 30th episode of the topic that you're going to be talking about. Number 3 is a favorite and very, very lucky for us. So, we hope to take back very good learning from him, which is the need of the hour. Teachers, today's topic is emotional success. Emotional intelligence is the key to success. And I think nobody better than Vivek Atray who can address this because in addition to knowing him as an ex-IAS officer, TEDx speaker, a writer, he's also a very dear friend and a motivational speaker. We look forward to this interaction, which is long overdue. And just last night, I was watching this film called A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. So I cried many times during the movie. It's a favorite thing for me to do. When I'm moved by something which is related to emotions, there are tears of joy. I rarely cry from sadness. I always cry because I'm very happy. So this movie is something I recommend for all of us to watch because there's a show that Tom Hanks, Mr. Rogers, he's running, and he says, I'm only helping children address their real emotions at the right time. And in the education sector, doing that is very important, especially in lieu of the current situation, because we have to address education from the point of view of the Bloom's taxonomy, and their emotions play not the Bloom's taxonomy, but the Maslow's law of hierarchy. So intellect will follow once the emotions are safe, secure, and that's bound to happen if the emotions are addressed at the right time. And the right people to address emotions is teachers. Just to give you a brief introduction, in Tribune School, We have 620 children, and we have 1,440 parents who are also our students. And beyond that, we have 1,440 grandparents who are also our students. So we like to address emotions of the entire community together. So without much ado and talking more about it, let's proceed with this, and we are looking forward to listening from you. Over to you, Vivek ji.
Thank you. Thank you, Atul and Vandana ma'am, for this welcome and introduction. Atul Khosla has launched this series by Shoolini University with various schools in North India. And about 6 or 7 topics have been selected. The schools get to select the exact topic. And you have selected a very good topic of emotional intelligence for success. And thank you for the introduction, Vandana, because that film, Beautiful Day, I've watched it with my family. And it is a lovely film with Tom Hanks. I also would recommend, and I sent it to Atul Khosla last night, I think, a very good video that Barack Obama and Mrs. Obama have brought out just a few days ago on the power of words and the love for words, and both of them sitting together and reading from that book, just sheer joy to watch them. And that also is, I'll try and send it to you, something that the teachers can see. So just coming to the topic, firstly saying that Shoolini University is very dear to my heart. I have been visiting professor and advisor to them for the last couple of years. Atul is a dear friend, and this very laudable endeavor to reach out to schools and principals and teachers at this time is really, really close to our hearts, and we're having a lot of fun along the way, meeting people, meeting people like this. So I would expect and request at the end you can have a few questions, which I will be very happy to take, your teachers. I already see that on Zoom there are more than 40 of them, and maybe some more people are joining on YouTube. So coming to the topic itself, emotional intelligence is slightly higher than intelligence, I feel, in the hierarchy of qualities that human beings can display. And all of us are imperfect because we are human beings. Sorry to call you imperfect, but no human being can claim to be 100% perfect in terms of emotional control, in terms of his or her speech, in terms of his or her conduct, or even various other things, character, etc., where we are totally perfect. It doesn't exist, that scenario. So we are works in progress, incomplete, imperfect. Having said that, we also have a lot of qualities, and each person, I believe Indians have a lot of edge over a lot of countries because India has a lot of grounding in culture and tradition and family values. So I think that we have an edge over many, many, many nations or societies in terms of being emotionally mature, into the extent that we understand the world and its culture and its ways a little better. So I feel that as individuals, we are at a certain level and we can improve to a certain better level if we work on ourselves. So emotional intelligence is defined by Daniel Goleman. He was the founder. We won't get into too many technical details. Let's suffice it to say that Daniel Goleman basically says that firstly self-awareness and then empathy for others. And I would add that emotional intelligence is the ability to balance, to handle people and situations in a calm and balanced manner. So if you are able to handle people and situations in a calm and balanced manner, then you'll be more successful, because the way you conduct yourself in such situations which are diverse and with people who are from diverse backgrounds is really what matters. And people may be very good at mathematics or physics or history or geography, and teachers especially this applies to. But suddenly, if you are elevated to a, let's say, administrative role, or you are positioned in an administrative role, and you have to deal with parents, or you have to deal with different kinds of backgrounds, then your emotional intelligence comes into play even more. So the first example I'd like to give you is that supposing you are heading a team of 3 people, and you are in charge of that team of teachers, let's say, or group. And though out of the three, one is a very regular kind of person who is balanced and largely well proportioned in his reactions. One is a very aggressive kind of individual who is a go-getter and very high-flying, let's say, thinks a little too much of himself. And there is a lady who is a little shy, very efficient, very hardworking, very, but a little introvertish and a little meek. So there are these three individuals in your team. Each of them is different. We should actually understand them first before we are able to get along with them and take work out of them or make them perform at their best. The high flying individual, we need to slightly control with firmness, perhaps, his or his temperament. If he's boasting about things in every meeting, or he's in a hurry to get things done, or he's even aggressive in his demeanor, typically such people are also a little disorganized, but he may be organized also, we never know. So he needs to be a little firmly dealt with. So in front of others, it may not be a good idea, but privately, sometime you can tell him that, see, you are a little too much for the others to handle. So just tone down your behavior a little quietly. The leader has to tell this person that it is better for you to, focus on your work a little more and speak a little less in the meetings. Let others speak, have empathy for them. And just by gently counseling this person, perhaps he becomes a little more aware of his personality. The balanced person in the middle is someone you don't really need to worry about because he knows when to become a little more dynamic and when to remain calm in his work. And he's the one who will help you the most. But the third one, the lady who is a little meek, it could be a lady or it could be a gent. The first one could have been a lady or a gent. That's not the point. The point is that this third one needs a little encouragement, needs understanding that this lady needs to be bolstered, needs to be supported, needs to be, her emotions, her work, her conduct, everything needs to be of of a higher level of energy. So perhaps she needs encouragement, constant backing. And because she's so good and diligent at her work, she doesn't need to be told about that. She needs to be given the assurance that you are with her. So the leadership has to give her that assurance. If you say something to her, which is harsh, even once, and then she will not be able to sleep at night. And she will think about you. And you means any leader, any teacher, in fact. It could be the students we are talking about. There could be students in your class who are like this. 40 of them, let's say, out of 40 of them, there will be a few extremes on this side and a few extremes on that side. And the rest of them will be normal kids who are, usual. Some may be kids with learning abilities, different learning abilities, special needs. And of course, they have to be also dealt with. So teachers in a classroom also have to see what kinds of backgrounds children have, what should be said and what should not be said. Is there something about a particular community that we said out of, just out of without caring? We can't say something about a particular community if that community is represented or even not represented. Jokes about a particular section of society perhaps have to be avoided. Sometimes gentlemen make the mistake as teachers of cracking boys' jokes, maybe not boys' jokes, but a little making the girls a little uncomfortable. So we have to see our situation. We have to see who we are talking to and what kinds of people are there. So I often say that you can behave just like freely and without inhibitions when you are with your friends, close friends. You can be bindas and you can be like you were in college or wherever you were and with them and just, your speech, your conduct, your behavior is just cool and you are your own whatever you are. But when you are with your boss, you will behave differently. When you are with a junior, you behave differently. Your mother-in-law is present, you will not say certain things. And your children are present, you will not say certain things. Your spouse is hopefully your friend, so you can be yourself with your spouse. So these are the basic points of emotional intelligence. where you have to understand that society is full of different kinds of people. We have to conduct ourselves in a manner that is exemplary, that is according to the situation, that is basically dependent on who is listening to us at that time and what we should be like. Of course, leadership means, or teachers also have to conduct themselves at all times like as if they are examples for students and others. Parents also. So parents also look up to teachers through their students, because the students typically go and praise their teachers at school, mostly. So they will say that, my ma'am said this. And I remember my own daughter when she was maybe 5-year-old or 6-year-old, just started going to school a few years ago. And we would tell her, beta, aise hota hai. She would say, no, no, no. Ma'am ne bola hai, aise hota hai. Which means that ma'am is above all. And we realized very soon that ma'am is a hero and sir or whoever is a hero. So we have to understand that teachers influence kids' personalities and parents' personalities also like that. So how we conduct ourselves with emotional intelligence is what really matters. So at this point, I haven't seen the clock yet, but it is time probably to turn over to Atul for a few ideas of his. And Atul is a very experienced individual, having worked in multinationals, having come to teaching a few years ago, and working with a lot of people of different backgrounds. So Atul, please add your thoughts, and then we'll probably talk about a brilliant student from Shoolini, Aman. Look forward.
Thank you, Vivek. I think this concept of teachers as heroes, I think completely resonates with me. Ma'am, you spoke about crying. I can tell you there's a movie called Hindi Medium. I'm not sure whether you guys have seen it, but when I saw the movie Hindi Medium, I actually cried, and I cried for a reason. Quickly, my story, I couldn't speak a word of English when I went to IIT Kanpur. When I started at McKinsey and I somehow got in, I was told by my CEO after 2 months that I have to leave. I was fired basically because I could not speak English properly. I think I had a bit of a fire in the belly and I went back to him saying, give me a chance. And he did. I was lucky. I spent the next 7 years, Vivek, speaking to a camera every day, and I made it. And the reason I'm bringing this example is because through compassion, through creativity, through inspiration, and through friends like you, Vivek, and Vandana ma'am, who can put the hand on someone's head, a child's head, they can become overachievers, they can become world beaters. And I think that's the role of teachers, and teachers are true heroes in that context. I've led teams where there were guys from Harvard and there were people from, all uh, the so-called schools, Doon or whatever, where I was sort of leading them and I was the head. And when I saw that movie, I said yes, I could do it, and that's my passion. If I could do it, I think every kid around the world can do it too. Just needs the right guidance. So you guys are all heroes. We're all heroes. So the two concepts I'd like to bring in, Vivek, because they're so important. And ma'am, did such a beautiful job explaining how Maslow's theory, and I'll be preaching to a pope, I think, right now if I speak too much on Maslow's theory. But I think the two words which are critical to me are, first is creativity and the second is inspiration. I sometimes joke with my teachers, telling them that as teachers, we are in the business of inspiration. If a student gets a spark, fire in the belly, then they'll just change the world. And that can happen. It can happen anyway. For me, it happened by a lecture by Arun Shauri, Vivek. I was at IIT Kanpur. I was completely lost. I was a 5 point someone, if you've read the book, or a three idiot type 6 pointer guy, almost jumped from the balcony. And then there was a lecture, beautiful lecture by Arun Shauri, and he changed my life. Honestly, he spoke about quality, and what a brilliant lecture it was. And one of the reasons actually we do so many webinars, Vivek, is also that if out of these 30, 40,000 people that we touch, even if 100 of them get inspired, then the purpose is met. So that inspiration, I think, word is what I'd like to leave. And the second is creativity. So we have to give the environment to our students, our teachers and others. And you spoke about parents and grandparents, ma'am, to be fearless in creativity, to be wild in the way they think, to just go crazy in terms of ideas. And I think once that starts happening, you'll see that they'll be happier, They'll be doing things that they love to do, but they'll also become world beaters professionally in the classical sense of success. I think in the context of this, I'd like to bring, Vivek, if you allow me, a video of a very amazing work that Aman has done. Aman is a student of Shoolini. She's doing a PhD, a BTech and master's student from Shoolini, but a tough student to handle, a difficult student, as we call it in our words, comes from a lesser privileged family in Punjab, didn't know how to handle her till she took admission in PhD. Some magic happened, Vivek, and the magic happened because of three things, according to me. One is she got a wonderful guide to guide her into an amazing project that she loved to do, which was on water, and I'll speak about that in a second. She collaborated with some of the best people in the world, and she got inspired. And magic happened. She's discovered a biomolecule which, when added to water, kills bacterial activity by 99.9%, which basically means that she could change, possibly she's sitting on a discovery that could change the way people drink water. She's been awarded a UN award to visit Geneva. It's called the Young Waters Fellow. She spent 4 months in Geneva. She won this out of 100,000 researchers across the world who applied. She's come back now and she's won a 25 lakh award from Tata Trust and Lockheed Corporation, Vivek. So amazing story. And who knows, if her discovery is real and if you can really scale it up, who knows, one day she might win the Nobel Prize. And it's an amazing story. I'm going to play a video and you'll just understand the context. Every time I see it, I get goosebumps. Hopefully so do you. So 1 second for me for the video. Vivek, this is the power of EQ. You can get extraordinary work done out of people and they can be extraordinarily happy. I'm delighted to state over here that as we speak, Shoolini is the highest patent filer in the country. We filed around 210 patents last year. Our students filed, compared to 147 of IIT Chennai, which is the second highest in the country. The Shoolini students are not the best in the classical sense compared to IIT Chennai or IIT Bombay or IIT Kanpur, whichever IIT you look at. Naturally, IITs get the first preference in terms of the classical marks. We also are not that large compared to IIT. We are probably 20% the size of an IIT. But still magic happened. And I think it happened from inspiration and EQ. So I'll leave with that and hand it over to you, Vivek, and I'll come back at the end.
Thank you, Atul. In fact, inspiration is something I was going to talk about, and also shunning negativity is something I'm going to talk about, and of course, creativity. So an emotionally intelligent person, as we were talking, also shuns negativity in the sense that when you have to encourage someone, then you are effusive. You go on encouraging to the fullest extent. When you have to snub someone or just tell them that they are doing the wrong thing, snubbing them in a manner that leaves a wound in the heart is not required. You can control your team, or you can be firm with your team in a manner that is firm but not overdoing it. And any teacher who is dealing with parents also has to retain that calmness. And that calmness is something which is a great, great quality to have. A calm person who is resolute, who is basically determined, dynamic also, and is solid, not to be taken lightly, but is not someone who goes on throwing his weight around, her weight around, goes on shouting at people. So that is not something that is going to really help. And I always say that respect is more important than authority. So authority comes from your power, from your chair, from your position, and respect comes from the heart. If the team is working with their heart and mind and soul into the project or the work or the teaching part or whatever it is, then that is something that is really going to work. And the students, for the same way, if the students really are fond of their school and their teachers, and instead of zabardasti kind of situations, they will really do much better, because they love what they're doing, they love the atmosphere, they love the classroom atmosphere and the activities, etc. And shunning negativity also means that even in a scary time like we are in, you are not the one who is the most terrified. And you are the one who's, okay, things are bad, we need to worry, but not overdoing it. Not watching the TV news too much, not discussing things which are going wrong, coming up with hopeful ideas and stories. You can do that. You can be the agent of change. And in a society which is often beset with negative conversation, even in the morning walk, at times you notice people in the park. They'll start off with Modi and this and that and whatever. And there's no need to discuss politics early morning at 6 a.m. or 6:30. I don't think so, personally. Politics will always bring out the worst in us. And we can discuss sports and music and art and literature and books. And Vanda ma'am rightly said Maslow's hierarchy. So we are going up the self-actualization pyramid. Why should we be going down? And this lockdown also should bring out the positivity in us rather than the negativity. ये देखो लोग follow नहीं कर रहे norms. ये देखो ये क्या कर रहे हैं, वो क्या कर रहे हैं. Why should we be talking like that? That means we lack emotional intelligence. I'm sorry to say very bluntly. So we need to talk about things which uplift the morale of our colleagues, students, family, friends, and things which are like that will actually elevate us from being a very dull and negative kind of person to a highly positive person. Of course, you are human. Sometimes you can feel low. Sometimes you can feel angry also. But anger management is something you need to work on. And the next point is creativity. Creativity actually helps you to handle your emotions better, to shun your low points and your negative and angry moments a little better. So you are able to handle your life a little better if you are into something like music, photography, writing, art, sports, whatever is your creative pursuit. And also, if you love your work and are creative at your work, the way you teach a subject, supposing a teacher is teaching the same topic every year, and that will happen, obviously, let's say geography or let's say history. Geography and history don't change very easily, right? History will never change. So the same things will be taught and the students will change. But if that teacher can somehow challenge herself or himself to bring out a new element in his own skills, or having read a story about Akbar or Gandhi ji, which was not there in the earlier lecture that she delivered about that topic, then you are basically making your own existence more cheerful, more creative, and your communication skills come into play, your personality comes into play. So you are basically being creative about your own work, and that is something which will help you as well. Emotional intelligence also means empathizing. That means that you are noticing others, you are caring for others, you are realizing that this colleague of mine today is looking a little off color, sad, depressed, morose. What has happened to her or him? Unless you are noticing others and looking to care for others, you will not even realize that. You will be in your own computer and your own work and your own existence and your own whatever. So you will be not really caring for others, going out of the way. People who are into donations and charity are also doing a great job. But I also feel that we could also be part of a social sector initiative by empathizing for the poor, for the illiterate, teaching others, planting trees, going and spending our time on a Sunday with society. I find a lot of young people doing that these days, and that's very heartening. My own daughters have really taken up this kind of thing, and they have taught us parents a few things about empathy and thinking of society. So emotional intelligence, to put it all together, is basically about understanding situations, understanding that people are from different backgrounds, understanding your own personality and where your weak points lie. Introspection will take you to a situation where you understand that in such situations, I often get irritated and I often start behaving in a manner which I don't want to actually behave like. And then I say things which I shouldn't have said with your spouse, with your family, with your colleagues, with your students, with parents, or whoever you meet in the bus or on the taxi stand or wherever you are. So the point is that we have to understand our own frailties, weaknesses, drawbacks, shortcomings, and sit down and analyze how we can work on our own selves. And one tip that I'll give you, which Atul may also mention later, is meditation. Meditation will absolutely elevate your emotional intelligence, your calmness, your balance of mind. And those who meditate actually really realize that life is much better than we think it is, because we haven't meditated, we don't realize that our mind is overworked. Overthinking is not something that is a friend. Overthinking means we worry to bits. We go on mulling over one thing repeatedly again and again and again. It's not good to do that. And I'll end with a story before Atul comes back with some points, and he'll come back to the wonderful video. So one story I'd like to tell you is that there was a saint who came and sat near a village and started meditating long hours every day. He would be sitting in meditation. The villagers used to go and pranam and meet him, and they were very happy that a saint has come near a village and sitting outside. And they would be very pious. But one man was a little ambitious. He went to the saint and said, "Sir, I've heard you have a very expensive diamond with you, and I want that diamond." So this saint was quite surprised that this man knows about the diamond. He had a diamond. He takes out the diamond and gives it to the man. He says, "Yeah, you can take it." So the man goes home and is totally befuddled at sea. He doesn't understand his own luck. He can't understand why and how the saint gave him the diamond. He realizes it's very expensive, gets it tested somewhere, whatever. His whole fortune, his whole everything could be changed for him with that diamond. But a week later, he comes back to the saint and says, "Sir, I don't want your diamond. Please take it back." So he says, the saint says, "Why? Isn't it valuable?" He said, "No, sir, it's very valuable, but I can't sleep at night because I can't understand why you gave it to me. And therefore, I want you to give me that which made you give me this diamond. What is it that made you give me this diamond? That is more important than the diamond." So when I heard this talk from Swamiji, one monk who was speaking in the Yogoda Satsang Society, which I follow, he said, when you have 20 rupees, only then you can give 10 rupees. That means the saint has something which is more expensive than the diamond, which is probably large-heartedness, inner peace, the value of what is really important and what is not that important. So if we realize these things, we may not be superhuman, but we can improve our realization. And meditation is something which will definitely help us. Over to you, Atul. Please add your thoughts, and then we can take some questions after the video.
Vivek, I've heard this story now 20 times or more, but I still get goose pimples when I hear this story. So true. I think before I get into the video, there were two thoughts I had. I think you brought in the concept of respect, respecting your colleagues and also getting respect. I remember This was many, many years ago. And I just started working. I was 20, all of 25. And I was working with Mr. Ratan Tata. He was my client at that point of time. And I ended up spending quite a bit of time with Ratan, as we used to call him. So he gave me a beautiful advice. He said, Atul, if someone tells you you're nice, that's not, take it as a negative statement. You need to be respected, not liked. Which basically means he was saying is that, of course, you need to be respected and liked. But if people like you because you're seen as a spineless guy who goes out and just doing anything and everything for anyone, that's not the trait you need to have to be a great professional. So respect comes from being fair. Respect comes from always being fearless in your thoughts, not mincing your words, calling a spade, and not sort of, brushing it under the carpet. So that's, I think, one thought I'd leave with all of you, because EQ is not just about everyone saying this guy is very nice and, oh, we love him. Because in a professional environment, you also have to get work done. So if you are loved by your students and they respect you, that's the best, of course. But being respected is also very important. I think the second thing is about optimism, which you brought about, Vivek. Nothing is superior than optimism and always thinking of the positive. So there's a very famous movie by Shah Rukh Khan, and there's a very famous dialogue which I'll repeat. इतनी शिद्दत से तुम्हें पाने की कोशिश की है कि हर जर्रे ने हमें मिलाने की साजिश की है. So I think that's so true. Keep on thinking positive. Keep on thinking about what you can do. The weakest of students can do amazing things. We all know that. I was listening to a Veer Das. Veer Das is a great comedian. I was listening to one of his sessions on Netflix, and please do that. I loved it. And he was talking about his story. He's dyslexic. And he said that, look, my teachers shunted me out. I got 52% marks in English because I could not write normal words. I wrote in capital letters because I just couldn't write. And the irony is that 15 years later, my university in the US has given me an honorary doctorate degree. And for someone who got in English, right? For someone who scored 52% marks in his 10th, he got an honorary degree. And I think that's what, that's what empathy is all about, that we understand the skills of our colleagues, our students, and make them world beaters, because everyone is super special in something or the other. I think that's my passion, Vivek. I always say the whole reason why we started Shoolini was to work with students from smaller towns. I have a very simple story. When I was in my 12th and I wanted to get into IIT, pretty much everyone laughed at me. They said, you can't. I made it. I was the first student ever from Himachal to clear the JEE, which I'm still very, very proud of. And I think every student from smaller towns, smaller places can do it. And that's the beauty of online education. It's democratizing learning increasingly. Whatever I've heard about the Tribune School, I think you have the same passion to make young Indians great. And that's the passion of Shoolini. I'm going to play a small video over here, and then we'll come back into the discussion, Vivek.
Throughout history, the young have always been the ones to shape the future. And they continue to do so today. country's biggest asset, our best bet to conquer the future. So what are you waiting for? Your time to dream is now. Dream of the research that can change the world. Dream of a high-flying corporate career. Dream of higher studies in the world's best universities. Dream of developing cutting-edge technology of the future. Dream of your own global startup. At Shoolini University, we empower you and enable you to chase your dreams and change the world. Shoolini University. Think learning, think success.
Over to you, Vivek.
Thank you, Atul. In fact, great ideas. And Shoolini University, I must tell you, Vanda ma'am and teachers, I am a visiting professor. I go there often. But the point is that the focus on research and innovation and creativity is what really excites me. And the campus is lush, green, and beautiful with flowers. We're really missing going to the campus with this lockdown. Atul lives on the campus, so he's a lucky man. And I would invite all of you on behalf of Atul to visit the campus after the lockdown. But questions and answers, I believe, Atul, now we can
Absolutely, lots and lots of them. I think one of the most interactive sessions so far. So thank you, everyone. Just shows the quality of the school. I think the first one is from Ruchika. Of course, there are lots of thank yous. Ruchika ma'am is asking, can emotional intelligence be taught?
Yeah, so emotional intelligence can be taught, but it cannot be learned. So if I say that, it means that you can instruct someone. Like I have talked about emotional intelligence, you have probably understood a few points, but you'll have to imbibe it. You'll have to practice it. You'll have to ingrain it. So something that is going to be a part of your life. It's not something that you will remember intellectually. It has to be within you. And that's why I said that I have a book actually called Finding Success Within. And if you permit, I'll just show you the book. This is the cover of the book. It's called Finding Success Within. Just brought it out in March. And it is a book of 52 life skills for young people. And there I talk about this fact that you have to be not only learning about things, but actually practicing them. And emotional intelligence has to be practiced.
I think at this stage, I'd like to introduce a framework called the Myers-Briggs type indicator, which some of you might be aware. Basically, Myers-Briggs says that there are 4 traits along which different people behave. The traits are, you can either be extrovert, introvert, you can be data-driven or intuitive, you could be feelings-driven, or you could be logical in your thinking, or you could be organized or disorganized. And we all have some shades of each of these. I think the trick or the easy way to do EQ, the way at least I practice, Vivek, in my professional life at least, is to understand the other person's behavioral style. For example, if I'm extremely unorganized, which I am, and by the way, my wife is extremely organized. So if you have to go on a vacation, she'll plan 3 months in advance, and I cannot even plan an hour in advance. You know, I'm the sort of guy who'll say, let's take the key and let's go. And I'm not talking about the car key. I'm saying, let's go to Europe. Okay, let's pick up a passport and go. I can take a decision in 2 hours. And she needs 3 months to decide and plan. And imagine the conflict that can happen. So I have to push myself to decide 3 months, month in advance, if not 3 months. And I think that's, so once you understand these 3 skills, if you put an extrovert in an introverted situation, you say, okay, now you're alone, that guy will be completely uncomfortable. So I think the onus is on us to empathize and be on the shoes of the other party. And I think once we can do that, we can actually become great friends, great colleagues, and get great work done, especially in a team environment, because in a team environment, they're so different. We are all so different. And If we don't understand each other's behavioral traits, we can actually end up in a failure of the team. So I'll request some point of time, you can even come and do a webinar if you want, but it's a long topic. But MBTI is the thing. You can even get yourself tested on your indicator type, what you are. We all have shades of different traits, but it's an important tool to think about EQ. Sorry, Vivek, I took a little more time.
No,
But
please,
it's important.
please. We have a question where how do we manage things when the kids are at home in such a stressful time? That's a very common complaint nowadays. The kids are home, the husband is home, and there was a WhatsApp which said that Prime Minister, please tell us when will the maid come, when will we have pani puri, and when will my husband go back to work. So these are the main things that the lady wants to know, and the lady also will probably go back to work. The kids are going to be, their energies are what we need to kind of understand. The kids being locked up is more difficult for them, so they need to have a physical activity time even in at home. I feel that if they can play some sport for 1 hour anywhere in the little space that is available, whatever it is, exercise and sport, that will keep them a little less stressed out. Endorphins are released, and they go to sleep on time if they are physical. Even at non-lockdown times, I always say children or students who are outdoor sports persons, they will have better control over their social media time also. They will go to bed on time, and their physical and mental development will be better. So I think you need to keep them energetically occupied in terms of physical activity and reading books, which you can give them a target, you can give them incentive. If they're very small kids, then maybe some little stars will do. I remember somebody who used to wet her bed, and the parents used to give a star the day she didn't wet her bed. So the star used to encourage her, and she got out of that habit. So this is something that you can also adopt with your kids, encouraging them. And I'll quickly go to the next one. Childhood is the foundation of a childhood is the foundation of a person's personality. How do we inculcate empathy among the students? So it is by your example, ma'am. You will have to do it. Kaveri ma'am is asking. Earlier question was Chandni ma'am. So Kaveri ma'am, you'll have to show it by your own example and how you conduct yourself. They will be inspired by that. And maybe you can tell them stories of empathy also in the class if you have a subject which goes with stories. Even a maths teacher can tell stories at times, no harm. So there are stories which give you inspiration. I think that will help them. Atulji is asking a more complicated question. Musical vocalist, he is a musician vocalist. Very nice, Atul. I want to know, how do we deal with multiple emotions? Since sometimes it becomes really tough to deal with our own emotions. Yeah, that's the whole battle. Dealing with others' emotions is not in our hands. We can actually be examples for them, but we can't really change them. So Paramahansa Yogananda, whom I follow, he said, change yourself to change others. So you have to work on your own self. And meditation will help you to control your emotions. You'll find yourself to be less irritable, less angry, less restless. Calmness is something you need to adopt. So Yogananda ji said, be calmly active and actively calm. This is a quote which is kind of elixir or motto for life. If you look at this book, which I have here, Autobiography of a Yogi, many of you have read it or seen it. In India, most people know about it. This is a book which contains such inspiration. Read books, Atul. They will help you to understand yourself a little better and control your emotions, meditation and reading.
I know you're hinting at me also when you said Atul read
Am
books.
I?
I will, Vivek, I promise you.
I was saying Atul Dubey, but it's up to you to understand what you can see.
I definitely need to start reading more than
Nikita ma'am is asking a question: if a person is emotionally unstable or maybe has simple symptoms of borderline personality disorder, not ready to understand the need of becoming stable, and believes himself to be the best, shall self-evaluation scales help? Will it be help to sensitize the person? You see, this could be a case where you need professional help, yes. And yes, Atul mentioned an MBTI scale, but then diagnosis is only part of the battle won. You've understood the person's requirements. Now you have to help that person get into first of all agree to be part of a program which will help him or her, and then you need to gradually win the battle. So a person who needs medical help or psychological help will have to take professional help. But your example and the company will definitely matter. If the company is positive and the company is, cheerful, that will help this person a lot.
So I'll just like to add over here, Vivek. I've been through a couple of very tough situations on this. Please immediately seek counselor slash psychiatric help, because it's a very slippery slope with these type of patients. And the normal tendency is to say, counsel them as friends, be happy, or how can you think like this? And you might think that helps, but it might not always help. So professional help is very, very needed, because if they go into a situation which is way worse, then bringing them back can be very, very difficult. If you think there is a borderline, convince them to take professional help. Strongly, strongly encourage you from my experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ashi ma'am is asking, in order to change someone's attitude towards life, what qualities do you think the agent should possess? So obviously you have to be an example to them, and especially if they're younger to you, they will look up to you, hopefully. And if you want to change the attitude towards life, then keep on repeating things which are cheerful. Affirmations also help. Affirmations are great enablers. If you read a sentence which inspires you, a spiritual statement or inspirational line, like again, I'll quote Yogananda ji. He says, "I will stand unshaken amid the crash of breaking worlds." Now, nothing could inspire more. The world is crashing about you, but you will stand unshaken. And he says, go on repeating these things to yourself and go on repeating them to others, and fantastic results can come. Tarun Preet ma'am is saying, I think it's ma'am, I hope it's ma'am. Tarun Preet ma'am is saying, creating a balance is most needed. How can we establish a balance? Yeah, so the balance is basically that you realize your human frailties, but you basically you work on your positives. And I follow the 80-20 rule in life quite often. So if you are most of the time, 80% of the time, you are cheerful, positive, balanced, calm, and rest of the time you are a little slipping, try and make it 90-10 if you can. That'll be even better. We got lots of them, Atul, in the...
The couple of them on the chat
box
side, so I want to pick up
Yeah, why don't you
Ashish's.
pick
I
up
think
a
we
few?
can pick up a couple of them, and then we can try to sort of close.
Yeah.
I have a few questions from you. You know my cheeky ones, right?
Yeah, sure.
So,
So
Ashish sir is asking, how do we do meditation? I think that's a great one for you, Vivek.
all right, how do we do meditation? So I follow the Kriya Yoga path of Yogananda ji, and the book was written in 1940s, and the lessons are available today. We follow a regular practice of meditation morning and evening, my wife and I. Even in the morning today, I meditated for 1 hour before coming here, so that helps every morning. And you have to basically follow meditation techniques. I'll write down the name of a website. I'll write down a website here, which will probably help you to understand the techniques better. This is the website that I follow. You can find anything that you feel is appropriate for you. It could be any path, but some structured path has to be followed for meditation. You can't just sit there and think that, I will start meditating. Your thoughts will trouble you, and thoughts will trouble you even if you use techniques, but you have to keep on trying. Don't give up after 2 weeks. Most people give up after 1 or 2 weeks. Oh, I can't meditate, my thoughts trouble me. So that is normal. You have to meditate for 20 years, then you'll see some results. It's not an easy
So
thing.
Vivek, we can send Vandana ma'am 11 Wednesday. We have a session on how to meditate. So if the teachers want to join us, we could send a
Absolutely.
link
In fact,
to Vandana ma'am.
absolutely. Atul Khosla is running through Shoolini University, is running a Yogananda Guru series. On Wednesday at 11:30 a.m., there's a special guided meditation session. And yes, Atul, we must send the details. Please join us, all of you.
Yeah.
I'll take a couple more questions.
Yeah, I think we'll have to max take 2 more.
Yeah. So can expressing emotions through writing help one's health? Very good point, Harkirat ma'am, I think. So Harkirat ma'am, it is actually true that writing is a therapy. And when you write down your negative emotions as well as your positive thoughts, you are actually expressing yourself and making yourself feel better. Especially if you write down your fears and worries, you can burn the paper or delete the whatever, wherever you've written it later. Don't share it with others. Just express yourself through writing. It is a therapy. In fact, my daughter, the younger one, Kavya, is into art therapy. So art therapy, music therapy, writing therapy, sports therapy, I believe, is also one way. So please get into something which helps you to, yes, express your emotions. Then they can be unbottled, so to say.
I have a very simple tip over here, Vivek.
Sure.
I spent 4 years in Switzerland and I had a very tough first 6 months. I was struggling in my job over there. We were setting up a company. And one of my very dear friends advised me, he said, what do you do for ironing your shirts? I said, I'd give it to the laundry. He said, okay, every day in the morning, just iron your shirt. Don't give it to the laundry. And I started doing that. So that 20 minutes was actually so amazing. I wasn't meditating in those days, but that 20 minutes of just ironing the shirt decluttered my mind. So sometimes even mundane things like washing plates, cooking, or laundry and stuff like that can be amazingly helpful. And you can save some money also. At least in Switzerland, it was $4 a shirt, right? So
Absolutely. I think most of the questions are relating to, the rest of them are relating to children. So they are about how to make children emotionally stronger, emotionally balanced, and yourself also. How to help a person when your dear one is emotionally imbalanced. Yeah, so basically you have to be patient. If we start reacting to someone who is going to shout at us, then it becomes a slanging match, things worsen. You have to be the shock absorber and try and help such a person by being calm. See, being calm is not easy. But you see someone like Rahul Dravid batting for the whole day or the next day also is the wall. So be like the wall and be absolutely balanced and calm if you can. And that person will definitely improve. Atul, I think we've run out of time. Maybe the rest of the questions can be mailed to us and we can get back to them on email.
absolutely. I have
So we can do that. Yeah.
three questions from my side. Rapid fire, Vivek. Your favorite book?
My favorite book is lying right here, Autobiography of a Yogi. I recommend it to everyone who hasn't read it. If you have read it once, please read it again. Because when you read it at the age of 20 or 40, it makes a difference. You change, you evolve. So read it again. And my second favorite book is Finding Success Within, which is my book.
I was about to ask you, why not your own book, but you answered. When did you start meditating, Vivek?
I
Seriously.
started at the age of 40, and that was 13 years ago. So you know my age now. So that was when I was doing little bits of reading about spirituality. My wife was already meditating for the last 3 years before that. So I used to ask her, how can you sit for so long? What do you do? I used to go and drop her. She said, come for 5 minutes in that meditation center we have in Sector 28 in Chandigarh, Yogoda Satsang Dhyan Kendra. So we used to just go. Now we go regularly, and I practice Kriya Yoga every day.
So one sentence that you have to tell everyone to finish.
So I'm going to.
You only got one sentence, okay?
Yeah, I've got one sentence. So I'll say that work on three things: calmness, compassion, and communication.
Fantastic. Over to you, Vandana ma'am, for closing the session.
Well, it's been a wonderful morning with many questions which have been answered beautifully from experience. And there was a lot to learn. Very bright, very cheerful, and what an inspirational morning. Something that we look forward to, especially these days. And Shoolini University, you seem to be doing a great job addressing creativity in children and taking the children from smaller towns. I mean, when they look at you, Atul, they can think of McKinsey, they can think of IIT. You've been speaking about your trips to Switzerland. So they have a role model to follow. You're doing a great job. Thank you very much for this morning that you've spent with us. It's going to go a long way with us. There are many questions unanswered, but we're definitely going to be sharing on the email with you. Thank you, Vivek, for the deep insight, which again is coming from your own experience. And stay safe and stay healthy. That's what I have to say to everyone present here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. It's an honor for us, and I can tell you that this was one of the best sessions. I've really enjoyed it because somehow the energy flowed into us. I think Vivek, you'll also agree with me.
Totally
Absolutely,
agree.
ma'am.
Totally
And
agree.
I mean, you've got a beautiful set of teachers. I mean, look at the questions, right? I mean, it's amazing. We've been
You
in
have a
sessions
great
where
team,
it's
I
all
can see.
quite.
Yeah,
So
absolutely,
thank you so
absolutely.
much. We'd love to invite all of you over once Corona is over to our campus. Come and spend a couple of days with us. We actually have a small village which we call the Yogananda Village, inspired from Auroville. We've got a bunch of huts over there. So come and spend time with us, and let's have some fun together. So look forward to meeting with you, all of you, and hopefully we'll meet again very
Yes,
soon.
sure.
Thank
And
you.
we're waiting for the invitation. We'll be there once the lockdown is.
Absolutely. There is no alternative, as they call it, the Tina effect, right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek, for being such a wonderful
Thank you
host.
so much. Thank you.